Hello again, my animal friends. Yes, the biggest date night of the year is almost upon us, Valentine's Day. And I'm going to definitely be sharing with you my Valentine's pet safety tips on Monday when I join you again here at Facebook Live at 11 a.m. Eastern. But right now I want to conjure up a few images. Hearts and flowers, champagne and roses, chocolates and candy, diamonds, jewelry, chains, gold, silver, whatever they are that hold the images of your precious loved ones, the heart you keep close to your heart, whatever that type of chain may be, whether it's gold, silver, platinum. But I'm going to emphasize today the ones that generally come in stainless steel, the ones that are often around the necks of our canine best friends. This is Have a Heart for Chain Dogs Week, and it's something I hope we will keep close to our heart throughout our lifetime and try to prevent this situation from happening. Like I mentioned before, I know the people that are tuned in, my choir here, are the ones that really are proactive and doing all they can to help animals in need. So what I'm doing is hoping you'll share this with somebody who needs the information, or maybe I'll give you a little bit more than you already knew so that you can share it with people that in turn can make a difference in the life of an animal. Hey, Barbara and Scott, thanks for joining in. I was remembering back this week that when I was teaching high school animal care, at the end of January every year, I would have the kids, the 16, 17-year-olds, make Valentines, and we would send them to dogsdeservebetter.com. And they would then, in turn, Dogs Deserve Better, a nonprofit, would send them out to close to 20,000 people whose names and addresses they had collected over the year that have chained dogs in their backyard. And they would also send it with literature about, how they would like to help these people create fences or a better environment. How important it is to get the dog walked and not have him chained, and various statistics. So a lot of those people were receiving lovely handmade Valentines from kids, or maybe some even older folks like me, because I would always throw in a few myself. And hopefully the message was coming home into their heart. And they, on their website, they do share that neighbors later on noticed that there was a transformation in some of the people, that some of those dogs were actually getting out and getting walked. So, that's a wonderful thing. And besides Dogs Deserve Better, there is unchainyourdog.com, there's PETA, there's the HSUS, there's the ASPCA. There's so many other organizations that try to help these dogs that are basically tethered to a stationary object, whether it be a pole or a hook in a fence or a wall, or whatever it happens to be. But that is what's considered a chained dog, if they're tethered to something stationary. Chained dogs are 3 times more likely to bite a person than an unchained dog is. And besides the mental anguish and the physical harm that can come to a chained dog, it really is a contributor to their antisocial aggressive behavior. So chaining a dog is never a good thing. You may notice, and I'm going to put this out here right away, if any of you have seen my preparedness tips about things you need for disaster preparedness, I do have on the list to have one of those stakes that you screw into the ground, a tie-out stake is what it's basically called. But my reasoning for that is only under supervision, when you're right there with the pet, if you have been evacuated, if your roof has crumbled in, if you're basically camping out or living out of your car or something along those lines during a disaster. I know the dog, you can't be on the other end of the leash with the dog 24/7. So that is really the only circumstance, a short-term in an emergency kind of situation, that we should have a dog on a tie-out. But dogs are social animals. They're pack beings. They thrive on their interaction with us and with other animals. And, in the wild, dogs or wolves or coyotes, however you want to categorize them, they live, they eat, they sleep, they hunt together as a family unit. So dogs just inherently want to be with us humans. You know, very often when dogs haven't been trained not to jump up, part of that is, you know, they want to get up to our face, they want to see us, they want to smell us, they want to be a part of our being and our essence. Dogs become terribly unfriendly when they're chained up. They become basically antisocial and very aggressive. And if any of you've ever seen a chained up dog, it's not just that he only has the length of the chain that he can run. Very often it's much less, because he will go around and around and around that pole or that post that he's attached to. The chain will get shorter and tighter. It'll be pulling at his neck. Additionally, most of the dogs that are chained up aren't considered part of the family like all of you consider the animals in your lives and like I do. So, you know, water bowls may not be changed very often. Food or a bone may just be tossed out there. And think about that. If the dog has gone and wrapped his chain around the pole, he may not even be able to get to his food or water, you know, unless he can figure out to retrace his steps and go backwards and give himself the slack in the chain once again. Also, being attached to a stationary item like that makes a pet very territorial. Everything, you know, that he can see in his grasp becomes his territory. There's a book called Fatal Dog Attacks, and it states that 25% of the fatal attacks are inflicted by chained dogs of various breeds. The breed isn't important in this issue. It's the fact that they are chained. So you can do things discreetly, and I'm going to talk about that at the end here, about how, if you know of a dog that's chained, where you can get the information on how to help him. But realize, because anybody that just unknowingly walks past him, he may dart at. Children are very often the subjects of the attacks, sometimes because they just don't see the dog and the dog takes off after them, but very often children and, you know, older people too will tease and taunt a dog. They think they know just how far his chain goes. And sometimes after the days and weeks and months of years of pulling and yanking at that chain, some of those links, you know, may loosen, and he may suddenly be able to go farther because he is now loose. Also, a dog that has been chained, once he gets loose, is still going to be aggressive, even though he's no longer attached to the pole, because he's just learned to be taunted and teased and pretty much ill-treated by humans who really aren't, you know, giving him much consideration. A chained dog is by no means a good guard dog. Chaining creates aggressiveness, not protectiveness. A protective dog is used to being around people and can sense who the family is and what his homestead is, and has a reason for wanting to protect it and, you know, scare or bark or whatever it might be, you know, intruders away. But a chained dog is not a good protection dog. Statistics show that one of the biggest deterrents to intruders is actually having a dog inside the house. So, you know, they're much more hesitant to enter a house where there's a dog inside. Yes, Gail, his or her could be a girl dog. Yeah, I'm trying to use it interchangeably, and sometimes I'm saying his, sometimes her, but you know what I'm talking about. Chain dogs are also easy targets for anybody doing anything malicious to the animal itself, or to steal the animal, you know, if they're selling them to labs or something like that. So, you know, they're out there and they're vulnerable. Even though they have become vicious, people that want to steal a dog, you know, have ways around that and are going to probably cause great harm to the dog, but they will, you know, steal him as well. As I mentioned, tethers can become entangled with, you know, the pole. It can get caught around garbage cans. I hate to completely categorize, but very often when an animal is chained up, he's in a yard that isn't a nice green grassy yard, but there may be junk or other objects and things around there that he can get cut and hurt on as well. And like I said, very often, you know, his feeding schedule may not be the best either, or he may have got himself caught in such a way that he can't get to his food. So often chained dogs actually look a bit emaciated. Hey, Carolina, thanks for joining in. And yes, I hope everybody caught that. There's definitely a distinction between aggressiveness and protectiveness. I've got some pictures here I want to show you guys. Let me hold them up to the camera, and you'll see in this first picture, let's figure out which way is up and down. Obviously, this chain is way too heavy. Any chain would be wrong, but look at the, the width and the weight of that chain that dog is pulling around. And also you can see from this, he's just in some sort of dirt. There's no grass. I don't know in the picture, but I'm assuming he may not even have any retreat from the elements. Here, we have a mom and her puppy. They don't look too happy, do they? They don't look too safe, too dry, too warm. Can you imagine what the sound is like hitting that metal barrel when it's raining? Really, really sad. Here are some more pictures I found. Here's a sweet Dobie. You see he has a dog house, but he's basically standing in mud, and the way the water from the rain is pooling around the dog house, I doubt that that is much drier or warmer either. Here is a situation where I guess the dog houses are those tubes or those cans. I guess they're like old barrels, but you can see the dog in the foreground definitely has the chain totally wrapped around what looks like an abandoned swing set. The wrapping looks like it goes up really high, so I'm assuming the dog kind of jumped up and over that tubing there and was trying to get away. It looks like there could be some paper plates in the yard. That might have been what their food was on. But I'm just, I don't want to generalize too much, but I just want you to understand the situations these dogs live in besides being chained. You see here, he's been chained to this post, and look at the hole that's been dug around the post. This is the only place he has to eat, to sleep, to defecate, to do everything it is he's doing. Really, really just unlike any situation I know. Any of the names I'm seeing on this video now want to see a dog in. And then look at this one. Here's an emaciated one. And maybe because he was just tossed out in the backyard and chained up, people just didn't even think about feeding him. Or maybe there was food there, but since he was chained, maybe other animals got to it because his chain was wrapped around something. Who knows what the situation is, but it's always bad news. I'm sure we'd all much rather see these dogs that look so happy, that they're with people, that they are part of the pack, that they have their little doggy door to get back in the house, that they're chewing on their bones, that they have friends that they're playing games with, and they're just, enjoying a nice warm rug and a bowl of food. So I just was hoping that would kind of drive the point home a little bit. Other things that can happen is very often these dogs are put on chains with chain collars as well, and they're never changed as the pet grows older. And those chains actually either create sores or actually grow into the skin, or I should say the skin as the dog grows into the collar. And when these dogs are rescued after, with the loving care of some, wonderful beings, the chains are cut away and the animals do heal in time, and hopefully their souls and hearts heal as well. But it takes a lot of nurturing by good humans like the ones I see tuning in here today. So, just remind people that dogs prefer to live inside with the family. They are pack animals. They have so much unconditional love to give. And, everybody doesn't have to have a fence. Obviously, it's great if you have a fenced yard, but my goodness, I see some pet sitters here that are always walking dogs. Theirs as well as, many of the clients. And even if your pet does have a fence, it's important that you interact with him and he gets a change of scenery, like we were talking about all in January, about getting out there and walking your dog, giving him that exercise, letting him sniff and check his pee mail and everything else that's going on. There are some regulations out there. Obviously, if there aren't enough people or they aren't being enforced in various cities, it's a problem, but there also just aren't enough good rules out there to protect our pets from these type of things. So anything you can do in your community can be helpful for, our canine best friends. I'm just trying to see if I had something here I wanted to share with you. Dogs Deserve Better does strive to be a force. That was the organization I was telling you about with my high school students. We used to always make the Valentines that, they would send off to the people. And hopefully when they got those Valentines and the information, some kind of light bulb would go on over their head and they would make a difference for the animal. But we really need to educate to evolve, to higher ethical and moral standards for the treatment of these dogs living in these horrible, horrible conditions. Dogs Deserve Better and some of these other organizations will actually meet with the owners and, try to help them provide a better life, talk to them about fencing, try to find, a grant in the community or a home, home improvement type store, someplace that maybe will donate or give lower cost items so that the fencing can be built if money is an issue. There are also what's called the Hero Grant that Dogs Deserve Better puts out there to provide for medical care for dogs that have been rescued from these sorts of situations. And Dogs Deserve Better has a rescue in Tennessee, and this is what I wanted to make sure, though I did tell you. They started in 2002, but in 2011, Dogs Deserve Better purchased their current headquarters, which is in Smithfield, Virginia. They also have a rescue area in Tennessee, but their big area now is in Smithfield, Virginia, and it's the property. Let's all not get too choked up on this one, but it's the property that once was the home of the Bad News Kennels, the dog fighting compound of Michael Vick. And thanks to all the outpouring of support and donations they got, they were able to purchase the property and have transformed it into Good News Rehabilitation Center for abused and neglected canines. So it's always great when something that has such bad karma and vibes to it, when there are amazing humans out there that can turn it around and make it into a place of healing and actually joy for the animals that are now unchained and looking forward to getting their forever homes and being cared for by humans who really care for them. So there are volunteers all across the country doing all different types of things depending on the organization, but there are people out there helping chained dogs. And just, at this time of the year, since the whole Valentine thing, and because when we think of chains, sometimes we're thinking of the silver or gold chains, I want you to be thinking of the chains that are sometimes around pets and how it's keeping them down in so many ways and harming them and not letting them be a part of the life that they were meant to live, because they give us so much. You've all heard me talk about all the ways dogs, enhance our lives, and I'm not going to go on to that too much more, but I just want to put it out there. Really, keep your eyes open. If you see an animal living in, unsatisfactory conditions, go to one of those websites. Dogs Deserve Better, Unchained Dogs, HSUS, PETA. Dogs Deserve Better in particular, I went through their website and they have all the steps if you're not, comfortable approaching the caretakers or the owner of a property yourself. And maybe you shouldn't. It's good to have a little bit of muscle or a little bit of law behind when you're approaching somebody like this, and you need to do it the right way. We all know about diplomacy, and I think sometimes certain groups go a little bit too hard and they turn people away, rather than, what is that they always say, you can catch more flies with honey than with a baseball bat or something along those lines, of swatter. So go look at their websites. If you come across an animal in need, go through the steps, get their address given in. It can be done all anonymously, and they will send out professionals or volunteers that have been trained to be professional in handling these kind of situations, and hopefully you can truly make a difference in the life of a dog. So yes, we do keep our dogs on leash when we walk them. As I was saying to my husband just earlier today, I always like to think of that I tether myself to my dog rather than him to me, so that I won't get lost from him. But whatever your way of thinking about it is, I know we all do it with the best of intentions and always under supervision with love and care. But there are a lot of dogs out there that aren't experiencing that. So for all of them, I give belly rubs across the miles, and for all of you, hugs for helping animals wherever you go. Have an awesome possum rest of the week, and I'll see you on Monday. And we'll talk Valentine's pet safety tips, as well as healthy heart for your pet, including omegas and different things you can do to keep their hearts healthy. Paws crossed for pet safety.